Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. So for today's video, we are going to be talking about what I want to read for the month of March. I have 8 physical books in front of me that I want to share and talk about, and I also have one book that's on its way that I don't own yet, but I do want to get to in this month. Before we talk about the 9 books that I would like to read for the month of March, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. That way you never miss another one of my videos. Okay, so I have fiction, thriller, contemporary romance, cozy fantasy, and fantasy on my list this month, and I'm so excited. So let's talk about the first book that I would like to read. I don't have a physical copy of this one yet, but I will be getting one soon. That is Bride by Ali Hazelwood. This is her newest release. I think it was released last month, if I'm not mistaken, and I'm super excited to read this one because out of all of her books, this is probably the most unique. This one's a paranormal romance between a werewolf and a vampire. And just that alone gets me so excited. I heard it's really good. I've heard nothing but great things. We're following a vampire and a werewolf, and in order for their families to make amends and build an alliance, they have to basically arrange a marriage. We're following Misery and Low, and Misery happens to be the daughter of a very high vampire councilman. She is arranged to be married to Low, which is one of the alpha werewolves in the werewolf pack, and it's their romance. I am so excited because I love arranged marriages. I think that's going to be so unique, paranormal one between a werewolf and a vampire. I've heard nothing but great things about it again. I've heard it's also super steamy and it's just so good. I'm really excited to get to it. The next book I'd like to read is Bookshops and Bone Dust by Travis Baldree. Last year I really loved Legends and Lattes. This one happens before Legends and Lattes. It's about Viv again, your famous orc, and this time she's in a bookshop. So I'm so excited. I've already started reading it. We've already been introduced to these 2 characters, and the funny thing is that this one character, her name is Pot Roast. I think that is so cute. I think the way that Travis Baldree writes his books is so interesting and just so cozy and just so good. Once again, there's a lot of talk about the food that they're having, the buildings that she's currently visiting. I'm enjoying it. So this one is on my list to finish this month, and I'm already loving it. So the next 2 books are books that I'll be reading together in tandem. If you know, you know. Hopefully I'm able to read these books and then everything else on my list this month, because I feel like once I start reading these books, I will have no room to read anything else, just because they are very lengthy, chunky books, and it's probably going to take most of my time. But either way, I'm being very ambitious and I'm hoping to get to the rest of my stack this month. But if I don't, for sure, I will be tandem reading Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn by Sarah J. Maas. So these are books 5 and 6 from the Throne of Glass series, and after this one I'm only gonna have one more book to read before I wrap up and finish the entire series as a whole. I'm so excited. At first I was very hesitant and scared because it's quite a commitment. Each book is over 600 pages. That's like over 1,000 pages in just one month, aside from the rest of the books that I want to read this month. But I know that once I'm in this world again, which I'm ready to be in, I just get lost and the pages are just pages. It doesn't even feel like such long books because everything is just so amazing. The experience is like no other, and I just enjoy these books so much. So I will be reading these this month, hopefully, fingers crossed. I'm not going to talk about them because these are books 5 and 6. I don't want to give anything away, and I'm sure you've heard of Throne of Glass, so I'm just gonna spare you the details of what the series is about. Just fingers crossed that I'm able to get to these this month. Okay, so the next book on my list, it's actually an older book. I mean, I don't think it's that old, but I think it's old enough. Yeah, it's actually really, well, it's old. It was published in 2014, so it's a thriller, and I'm sure all of you have read this book, but I haven't, and I own it. And so when I'm feeling like I want to read a thriller, I think this one would be very good, and that is Big Little Lies by Leanne Moriarty. I don't know if I'm saying her name right. I mean, I'm sure everybody has heard of this except for me, honestly. I know that this is about moms attending a PTA meeting or something like that at school, or a show at school, school, somebody ends up dead, and then there's a mystery to be solved. On top of that, there's a lot of gossip, and I feel like the characters are probably going to be unreliable, like you can't really trust them. That's pretty much all I know about it. I've heard great things. It's already an HBO series. I'm excited to read this. I'm not going to read the back. I'm just going based off of what I've heard and what I know. I'm excited because I like juicy, gossipy, scandalous kind of thrillers. I think this is a thriller or a mystery, especially when it's involving like moms and things like that. I just eat it up, so I know I'm gonna have a good time reading this. I can't wait. The next book on my list is the last and final installment of this 3-book series, and that is Final Offer by Lauren Asher. This is book 3 of the Dreamland Billionaire series, and the last couple of months I've ate up books 1 and 2. I think it was last month that I actually read books 1 and 2. I read the fine print and I also read Terms and Condition. I just love Lauren Asher as an author. Like, I love her writing. I love her characters. I love the relationships between them. I also love her steamy scenes. I love that her books just feel so, they're smaller, but they feel so good in your hands. They're floppy. You also have dual POV from the characters, and it's just a fun time. Her books are so bingeable that I'm hoping to squeeze in the very last book in this series so that I can jump into her next series, which is, I forget what her next series is. Her next book in a new series is called Love Redesigned, and I'm just excited to keep reading more of Lauren Asher's work. I think it's flawless. I love it. I love it so much, especially for contemporary romances. And in this one, we're following the last Kane brother, which is Callahan, and we're following Alana. And I believe in his grandfather's will, Callahan is supposed to rekindle something that he had with a past girlfriend, and I think Alana was his past girlfriend. And so in order for him to get his part of the inheritance, he has to rekindle these things with her and fix the relationship that has been broken. I'm actually not as excited. I really like this brother. I think he is very fun, and I know he's going to be so fun to read about, but I'm just not very excited about this romance in particular, only because Callahan is very jokey. Like, he likes to joke around a lot. He's very sarcastic, which I love. I'm not as interested as much. I really gravitate towards romances that are like enemies to lovers, forced proximity, grumpy sunshine, and he's not grumpy at all. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm sure I'm going to love it. Anything that Lauren Asher writes, I love and eat up, so pretty sure I'm going to have a good time reading this one as well. Next book I want to read this month is Carrie, SoDo is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. It's about time I actually get to this book. I've heard really great things about it. I think it came out last year, if I'm not mistaken, and it's got really great ratings, really great reviews. Everybody talks about it, even though this is not what I would pick up on my own. Like, this is not a book that I would want to just be so excited to read, but I've heard great things, and anybody that has read this book has said exactly the same thing, that they went in it not expecting much, but they got so much out of it, and the story is so good. Plus, I love Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love the books that she writes, and so I think this is going to be such a good one for me to read this month. And this one we're following Carrie, SoDo, and Carrie used to be a very well-known tennis player. She's about to retire, and a new, younger tennis player is being discovered. She's about to beat Carrie's highest score, and so instead of retiring, Carrie decides to go back and claim her title again so that she doesn't lose it. The story is about her growing up, how she became a tennis player, and her journey through her career, basically. I've heard really great things about it, and I'm really excited to get to it this month. The next book I want to read is from an author that I own multiple of her books, but I'm just too chicken to pick one up because they always make me sob and they're always tragic and sad, even though her books are so good. The Woman by Kristen Hanna, and I have to read this book. I've heard really great things, and this is going to be the next book on my list that I read. I've only read one book from her, and that's The Great Alone, and that book crushed me. I loved it, I enjoyed it, but it did crush me, so I know that all her books do, and if I'm going to read at least one this month, I would love to get to this one. And I think this one's about women who fought in the Vietnam War, and that's pretty much all I want to know about it. I just want to go into it blind, not expecting all the tragedies that are going to come my way when I read this book, but I know that it's going to be such an impactful book, and I really want to get to it this month. The last book on this list that I want to read this month is Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie Garmus, and again, it's one of these books where I'm not the first to want to pick it up because I heard it's full of a lot of feminism, which I don't mind. I love that. However, When it's too much, it's too much. And that's how I'm just gonna put it. I love a good feminist book, don't get me wrong. But sometimes I have to be in the mood for it, or I have to crave it. Sometimes when it's too much, it's too much, you know? But I've heard really great things about this book. Everybody has raved about it, and I want to read it. You get multiple points of views in this book, and there's also this character in here that is a dog, and you get the dog's point of view. And that's one of the reasons why I want to read this, because I would love to be in the dog's head, and I know it's going to be so enjoyable to just read from that character's point of view. In this one, we're following Elizabeth Zott, who happens to be a chemist and also happens to be a single mother. And instead of following the whole stereotypical thing of her being just a mother with no ambitions to grow in her career field, she decides to challenge that. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, she ends up having a cooking show. Chemist Elizabeth Zott is not your average woman. In fact, Elizabeth Zott would be the first to point out that there is no such thing as an average woman. But it's the early 1960s, and her all-male team at Hastings Research Institute takes a very unscientific view of equality, except for one, Calvin Evans, the lonely, brilliant Nobel Prize nominated grudge holder who falls in love with all of the things her mind. True chemistry results. Like science though, life is unpredictable, which is why a few years later, Elizabeth Zott finds herself not only a single mother, but also a reluctant star of America's most beloved cooking show. Yeah, so she becomes a star of the cooking show, and that's pretty much all I know about it, and that's pretty much all I want to know about it. I'm excited to read it though. I'm in the mood for it, so I know it's going to be a great read. Okay, so there you have it. Those are all the 9 books that I would like to read this month. Fingers crossed, pray for me that I get to all of them, even though I do want to tandem read Empire Storms and Tower of Dawn. But I'm being ambitious because lately I've been reading so much that I feel like I can do it. So wish me luck that I can. So there you have it, guys. That's it for today's video. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button, and I will catch you on my next one. Bye!